We want to kill the music. I'm not a singer. Who wants to see a comedy show? Awesome. You guys can come and grab a seat up here at the bar or play some darts. Do whatever works. All right, my name is Bear. I'm from East Lansing. My dad said I named you that, not the hippies. Sorry, we're doing it over here. I feel comfortable here in Colorado because you guys legalized pot. Thank you. Kind of put me out of a job though. Nobody tells you what happened to the weed man, the one that made it out. He delivers pizza now. DoorDash. And these people with the snowboard racks on the top of their car looking like police, they're slowing down your food, I'm sorry. It's not even my fault. But my friend, his parents are hippies, and it's confusing enough growing up, but when your parents are hippies, how do you go through that rebellious phase? Get a job, go to school. It's kind of hard to run away from your dad's teepee, and he chases you down on horseback and says, "It's cool, bro, we can talk about it." But hippies did some good things for society. They invented the word grounded. Take away the TV, take away the phone, get grounded. Before that, I guess we just beat our kids. I think I'm still grounded. In my friend's family, spooning means laying with your lover. In my family, a spooning means getting hit with a wooden spoon for trying to taste the gravy too soon. But like I said, hippies did some good stuff. But my friend, he went to Burning Man with us, and I'm going by Bear Love. You know, Burning Man's this week. And I'm going by Bear Love, and my friends, whose parents are hippies, they're like, "What's our hippie names?" You know what I mean? What's our Burning Man names? And they were already going by Blu-ray and Solmar. And I was like, you guys kind of already came with hippie names, you know? And so the whole Burning Man, they went by Bob and Sam. You go by Bob, I'll go by Sam. Yeah, when they were growing up, they got to choose their own punishment when they were in trouble. I got to choose the stick my grandma would whoop me with. A little bit different than how you're raised. But like I said, I used to grow pot here high in the Colorado Rockies, double meaning. And the worst thing happened to us hippies. We ran out of Kool-Aid. And Chiba Hut thinks it's a real drink. They even put it on tap for us. But we ran out, and have you guys ever been so stoned you thought you invented something that you didn't really? Okay. Well, we were out of Kool-Aid, but my girlfriend shops at Costco, so we had loads of sugar. And we're way up in the mountains in Conifer, so no store run was in line that night. And I look up in the cabinet, and we've got water, we've got sugar, but we're out of all this Kool-Aid, and I look up and we have tea. And I'm like, oh, genius. I've got sugar water, now I've got tea, and it's even better than all the Kool-Aid artificial flavors. So we start mixing it in, and for 3 days, nobody calls me out. I'm telling my girlfriend, "You want a batch of sugar water tea, honey? You know, my friends are coming over. You want some sugar water tea, Jake?" And nobody called me out. They probably thought there was weed in it looking at me, but it was just celestial season, sleepy time. So, but your family will keep you in check. My cousin came up from Texas, and he said, "Bear, this is really good." I was telling him about my idea to open up a stand for sugar water tea at Red Rocks. And, you know, you can get the different flavors, you know, everybody one for each of your likes. And he said, "This is really good, Bear, but you did not invent sweet tea." So, I'm from East Lansing, Michigan. Our school mascot is the Michigan State Spartans. Which they are the Warriors, and I identify with that. Have you guys seen the movie 300? I identify with that because I was 300 out of 305 in my graduating class. That's last. But I've always been called Bear. In Mexico, everybody thought I was saying my name was Beer. They're like, "This American's so crazy, he named himself Beer." And I was drinking a lot of beer at the time, but I had to say it in Spanish. "No, my name is Oso." And all of them made the same joke all the way through Mexico. They said, "Oso polar," polar bear. So, but who's ever partied in Mexico? It gets pretty rowdy down there. You know, you get a tattoo you regret, you know, argue with your friends on the beach, adopt a kid. No? Not everybody? Okay. Well, I did. We adopted Pablo. He was a 19-year-old that showed us some pretty sweet surf spots on the way back up to the border. But we were at a month-long party called a Rainbow Gathering, and we were up there, and basically, so he kind of tagged along for like a week, and we're going back and forth from the party to different surf spots, and we're getting back up to the border, and that is when he decides to tell us that he can't come to San Diego with us because of a very sad story he got, where he cannot go back and forth over the border because of something he did. And so, really depressed, but I felt very privileged, so I was like, that's a bullshit story, I'm gonna come with you. And me and him decided that I was gonna be his protector in Mexico. He was 19, he was way more street smart than me. He protected me through Mexico way more than I protected him. I actually was more like a big white billboard that said, rob these two. And that happened often. By the police. And yeah, so basically, he was pretty tired of his escort by the time we did get him down to Durango. He was like, dude, chill out, put your camera away, act poor, put on this hoodie. And so we ended up making it all the way down to Mazatlan, where his uncle was there to pick him up. So if you're a Trump supporter, I took one of them home for you. If you're a bleeding heart liberal, I took that poor kid to his fucking uncle's house like he should have been. So you decide how that one plays out. But, so the point is though, I get down there and now I've got two choices. I'm pretty good at Spanish now. You know, un poco. I told these old ladies too. I said, mucho viaje en la todo país. I'm traveling. But I actually said, mucho vieja. I told them I'm an old lady. So, not quite good at Spanish yet, you know. But I'm like, I don't want to go back to America. I had a job, and I wasn't looking forward to going back to that. So I decided that I was going to go and journey further into the abyss. And Pablo, before he left, he told me that peyote just grows wild in Mexico. Did you know this? Yeah. Woo, that kid knows. So I ended up going on a crazy treasure map hunt to go all the way down. It's almost like one of those bad hippie jokes. Why did the hippie not return from the desert looking for peyote? Because he was too far out. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But I did go into the desert, and I get down there. I had to go through a tunnel. I had to go through a train. Then I got on a bus, and I went through another tunnel. And I get to this town in Mexico called Real de Catorce. And it's like a hippie festival. Like everybody's trade and bartering. You know what I mean? Have like a whole town square. It was like a whole thing. I was like, this is awesome. So I'm down there, and there's an actual store that says in English, hippie store. And I was like, I walked in and I'm like, I made it. And so, welcome arms, there was some hippie kids in there, and I was like, yo, how do I find the peyote? And they were like, you can get the peyote from any restaurant in town. And I'm like, where the fuck am I? So, sopa de peyote necesito. And so I'm going through town, and I walk up, and I sit at a restaurant, and I ask somebody's mom, I need some peyote. And she goes, okay, let me get you some soup. She goes back to go get some soup, and I knew this was too easy. So I say, con mezcalina, abuela? And she goes, no. Like I said a swear word, it was not with mescaline. And so I hid and left the restaurant, tipped very well, left, and was like, fuck this. I go back to the hippie store, and I just say to the kids, con mescalina? And they go, oh. They realized that I just asked somebody's grandma for peyote, and they sent me to do this. So, long story short, I'm just striking out on this mission, almost to the point where I gotta give up. But they tell me, no, it's not in this desert, it's the next desert over. I've already went through tunnels, I went through buses, I went through trains, I'm almost over drugs. I'm pretty sober at this point. So I get there, and they say that you have to take a Jeep wheelies through the trails. And there's already a bunch of tourists in the thing, so they say I can ride on top. So here we are. They call America the land of freedom. I don't know. I've never rode on top of a Jeep down the main street. But basically, so here we are. We're mocking through the streets, jumping down there. This is like a panty trip, just getting there. Anyways, we get there, and I get dropped off in this town. Everybody scatters, and it's like everybody's playing soccer in the town. It's like this crazy, like beautiful, blissful city. None of them are on peyote. None of them. And so I'm like, hey, where's the peyote? And they're like, get the fuck out of here. And so I'm walking around, striking out, and finally, I'm lighting up these cigarettes that just turn into air. You know, down there, cigarettes are just like dust. So I'm lighting up some dust cigarettes, and these kids come by and I'm like, let me get one of those cigarettes, let me get. So I'm passing out cigarettes, and I'm like, tell me where the peyote is. Tell me where the peyote is. So I'm bribing pretty much 19-year-olds for cigarettes to tell me where this peyote is. And the only information they give Wedo is it's at a door. You have to find the house with the red door. And basically, so there's 500 houses in this little city. So I go on like a military mission to find this house with a red door. And after like 3 hours of walking house to house, like, I find a house with the red door. And there's good music going on in the house. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the spot. Like, oh yeah. And I get up there and knock on the door. And to the left of the door, in the stucco, is a peyote button, perfectly painted. And I'm like, we're here. But hippies are the same everywhere. As soon as I knocked, the music shut off. And they were like, it's probably a cop. So I didn't want to mess up their high, so I left the red door because they were not answering. I knocked, I was like, hey, it's cool, necesito toma la peyote. And they were not. So I'm back in the park. Fuck. And, well, since we've got some Polish comics on the lineup, I met a Polish traveler. He was wearing a backpack. And Monik, he was a beautiful light. Literally. I don't normally see people's auras, but Monik, you could tell that he had recently eaten peyote. I don't know this guy from anywhere, but I can see his aura like shimmering. You can tell he looks different than the other people. So I follow him up to the tostada stand. Basically, and so I follow him up to the tostada stand, and basically I didn't have tostada money, but we're gonna find out how he started looking like that. 15 minutes? Okay, so basically, so I come up to him and I say, you're gonna tell me where the peyote is. Now, backstory on our friend Monik. He is a 21-year-old Catholic altar boy from Poland. Now, what's the worst mistranslation you've ever heard? Okay, I would say the worst mistranslation I've ever heard is somebody saying that they're spiritual from Poland, and then the Mexicans saying, we're about to eat a spiritual food called peyote. He had never eaten a drug, poor Monik, and he's like, a spiritual food on God's earth? I must try this. And so he just thought this was part of the journey. And so he's never even smoked a joint. Now Monik is picking out, and some goat herder taught him how to actually pick the poisonous part out of it. So he has no shaman to teach him, just Monik in the desert. And I guess he said he was out there for 3 days. He compared that to Jesus being in the earth for 3 days. And so I walk up to him at this point. I don't know if he has battled the devil for 3 days and been out in the desert. And it's funny because he said on day 3, the only thing that saved his life was a package of Snickers that he had. And I was like, that is a Snickers commercial. Hungry? Why? Wait, dying of peyote starvation. Have a Snickers. And so, but either way, so I come up to him after his 3-day spirit quest on his own in the desert. And I say, you're going to show me where the peyote is. And he goes, I'm no better than our Lord, so I can't do a 4th day. But we're drinking tequila tonight in my room, and I'll show you where the peyote is tomorrow. And so I thought that was going to be the way I possibly died, is follow him 17 kilometers out into the desert. I don't even know what a kilometer is. But we're going kilometers out in the desert. And just when I'm like, okay, I'm going to die looking for a drug. This is my reality. I sit down, and Munich walks up. He goes, oh, you found some. And I guess I had sat next to 15 buttons, and so it turned into a crazy day. So we ended up going back to town, and the end of our peyote journey is people were coming from all over. This girl from Germany ends up coming to town, and I'm like, you're not gonna find it. I wanted to make sure she found it easier than I did. And so we did go out and look, and I got so many prickers on my feet. I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna find the peyote again. And she had a number to a shaman. He has a cell phone. It was his brother's cell phone, to be fair. His brothers are hustling his shamanic abilities. His name is El Jefe de la Desierto, and he was a special guy. I truly believe he was the desert after hanging out with him that whole night. Like, truly. But either way, Matthew McConaughey had a picture with him, and that was the guy's little prized possession, is Matthew McConaughey. That's where Matthew McConaughey sat in the cage with the mountain lion and ate peyote on the same property that I went down there and ate peyote. So, random story, if you're down in a peyote field, you might see Matthew McConaughey. All right. So, all right, well, I come from a different time. Some people say I look young. Some rooms, they call me an old man with my hair. But I come from a different time. I've had a beeper in my day, and it wasn't even to sell weed yet. It was so my mom could tell me to come home. I saw Blockbuster get put out of business by Netflix. I saw one of my favorite, Toys R Us, get put out of business by Amazon and Walmart. I saw heroin get put out of business by fentanyl. I come from the generation where you can find a mystery bag and not die. But this generation has to know chemistry in order to go home with that. Okay, but it only gets worse. It only gets worse. Rick did not tell me there was going to be kids here. All right, we don't have to talk about the Burning Man orgy. Okay, we can take that one off. All right, I was really excited to tell that one. All right, we might tell that one. All right, we'll tell a version of it. All right, well, Burning Man is like Disneyland for adults on acid. I went to Burning Man, and it's kind of like Russian roulette for an LSD trip. You could have a really good night, or you could have a really bad night. Now me, I met the girl of my dreams. Unfortunately, she came with a third wheel, her friend from home, which I guess he was in love with her too. But he just didn't get the memo that me and her are frolicking through Burning Man, doing all the crafts. It's the best first date. There's DJs, there's all this crazy stuff. So we're literally trying to ditch our third wheel, and we are. So does anybody know the rules of Burning Man? Well, they're more like the rules of psychedelics. I didn't know there was rules. Okay, well, water's still wet, fire is hot, and you cannot fly. All right? And red and blue lights are not pretty. Stay here. Okay. So the rules of Burning Man do apply, and there was one that's underlined that you think is not as important as the other ones. But it says, don't forget your goggles, because it's a party that's in the desert. All right? And so now I forgot my goggles, and we saw a sandstorm coming, and we had to run into a teepee, and literally, as soon as it wasn't even our teepee, it was just some teepee that was set up at Burning Man, and they're shutting it as soon as we get in there, and they're like, all right, you made it out of the dust storm. So me not having goggles, I get locked into a massage camp. And a massage camp at Burning Man is only not an orgy for 33 minutes. We were in there for 34. Yeah. And it's funny because I was dressed up as an elf. This is Burning Man. She's dressed up as a unicorn. And basically, the guy who's tagging along is dressed up as Napoleon Dynamite with the Vote for Pedro shirt. And so it turns into a massage, and everybody's massaging. There's like 40 couples massaging. And it turns into like a little bit of a one-upper situation where he starts rubbing her feet, and I'm rubbing her shoulders, and he's rubbing her leg, and I didn't know that the whole tent was watching this. Like, are we going there? Are we going there? I later got dubbed the mayor of Munchkinland for starting this fiasco. Because the guy who was dressed up as Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was really wanting that to happen in the massage camp the whole time. And so, but my buddy, like I said, Russian roulette, you never know what you're gonna get. He ends up finding a less known about camp at Burning Man that was in Christmas lights. And you couldn't even read anything but anal. And then it was like, bleh. But it was anal bead. He found anal bead camp. This is the end. So he found anal bead camp, and it was written horribly, and it's Burning Man, so he probably thought it was a joke. He's very high on acid, as it's not a super sexual drug, so he's like, this is probably a joke. He walks into the tent, and it is not a joke. He's in anal bead camp, fully immersed. Somebody put their heart into this camp. But mainly, the main attraction is the girl who's naked on the table, and the pile of anal beads all sizes next to her. KY jelly and gloves. All right, and he's like, I'm on a lot of acid. I don't know if this is the way night's going. You know, he had to decide, walk into circus tent or not. And so he owned up. He went in, and he thinks she's gonna call like a joke as soon as he gets closer. And she's like, gestures over to the beads, and he doesn't want to be rude, so he doesn't go for the biggest one. You know, he goes for something smaller, and basically, so and as soon as he's about to go close to the table, she does this move and like puts, you know, eye to eye. And so he decides, okay, I'm gonna do this. So he pops one in, nothing. Pops the second one, nothing. She's not making even an ooh or an ah. And so he pops them all in. And he's like, okay, it must be a speed thing. So he gets up there and like he's gonna start a lawnmower. He goes, I'm gonna take them out for her fast. And he also forgot his goggles. So when the shit hit the fan, for him, it was a different night. Okay, let's bring up our next guy, Patrick Trujillo. Let's bring him up. Let's give him a round of applause. Come on, guys. Hey, Pat.
All right. Thanks for being here, everybody.